Hey, how you doing? I'm Adam Post, publisher of College of the Dead, publisher of more than 1,000 independent comic books through my comic book companies over the years. It's a lot of fun to make comic books. I started when I was really young. I see a lot of people getting into making comic books right now, and it really inspired me to want to do this Secrets of the ComicsGate Network series to share some of the insights that I've learned over the years, over the decades. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot about this process, and it's important to try and pass along the information because I'll tell you what, when you see people making mistakes or doing things wrong that they don't have to do wrong, to me, I just want to make sure people have the information. They can kind of make up their own minds. Let's put it that way. So this is a Secrets of the ComicsGate Network series video. I've done several other ones of these. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications so you get to see all of them. And this one is about making comic books. Are you doing it as a hobby, a job, or a business? And you know what? It makes a difference. So I've always been self-employed. I'm 49 years old now, so that always goes all the way back to 15 years old when I made my first comic book. And, being self-employed, having your own business, it gives you perspective on work, and it's different than if someone takes freelance work or takes a regular job. It's certainly different if you're doing the work, and you're doing the work as just something every now and then to occupy yourself with as a hobby. I've always been pretty busy in life, so I've never really had a lot of things I consider hobbies. For me, it's always just working on ideas, working on the work. So if you're doing comic books as a hobby, let me tell you how I'm defining and classifying these things so we know we're talking about the same things. If you're doing it as a hobby, you're doing it as something to occupy your time. You're doing it the same kind of way that people read comics. They read them because they're fun. They play video games because they're fun. And now it's easier than ever to make your own comic books, which is also fun. There's nothing wrong with it. And, it might wind up being that you start something as a hobby, and then it could turn into a job or a career, same kind of thing. Or it could become a full-fledged actual business. And I'll talk more about what I mean by the difference between a business and a job. But as a hobby, you're doing it for fun. The same way, you might be, again, reading comics for fun or just kind of hanging out with friends, talking about comic books. And again, it's easier than ever to make your own comics. So if you're doing that, the money that you spend on making those comics, for example, if you're hiring other artists or if you're hiring writers to work with or editors, that's just part of the expense of fun. And you don't even really have to be that careful with budgets. I like to be very careful with budgets. I like to be very, very careful with money and very careful when I plan and schedule things. But you don't do that with a hobby, unless your hobby is like jumping out of airplanes, then you better be really, really careful about that. But this isn't really life or death. You're doing it for fun. So there's nothing wrong with doing it for fun. A lot of people that like comic books and are interested in comic books and probably that listen to this video have great careers or great businesses and tons of their own money. They don't have to really get so intense when it comes to the production of a comic book. But that's really for the hobby category, the hobbyist, right? Someone who's just doing it for fun. When it comes to doing comic books as a job, a lot of my friends making comic books now are doing it as a job. They want to do this to pay their bills. They're going to count on their own work for the most part, meaning if it's an artist or a writer-artist, that writer-artist is going to do pretty much all their own work. If they hire someone to help them, maybe they hire an editor to look at their work, some freelance editor, and maybe they hire a letterer. Maybe they hire a colorist or someone to do flats, preparatory work on the coloring, minor things. But for the most part, they're thinking about their career for their own work. And they might replace their letterer. They might replace someone else contributing coloring or whatnot. But for the most part, it's really about them thinking about, okay, I just want to do this work. Let's say if it's an artist, they want to draw these comics and or write them if they're writing them as well. for the next 5, 15, 25 years. They want to do that task and get really, really good at it as time goes on. And that's their focus, the job and the career. For me, I've never been a dedicated creator that way, where I was focused on doing some aspect, a single aspect of the production of a comic book, and thought that, okay, I would be doing this single aspect or two aspects like writing and art for 20 years or anything like that, or even for 2 years. For me, it's always been organizing like a business, and I'll explain a business next. But with respect to the job of working in comics, the career of working in comics, mostly self-publishers, people with their own small companies, a lot of people doing Indiegogo campaigns or other crowdfunded campaigns, are focused on making it a job, making it a career, keeping them from having to get and hustle for other freelance job work. So it's sort of like working for yourself. That's really being self-employed, employing yourself and focusing on your contribution. Okay, that's different from creating a business, a publishing business, or any kind of business. A business is a system of work. So a business is generally more than one person. There are employees involved. There may, if not employees, there are independent contractors that provide regular work. So the business, even though the self-employed people have business considerations, profit and loss, and having to deliver on a schedule, they're really focused on their own career, their own, we call it value added, their own contribution to whatever the process or whatever the project is. And they're not pulling together a lot of other people as part of the project to produce a project. So it's similar in that if you're a writer-artist, sure, you're going to have to hire a printer. You may have to get a letterer to handle your lettering, or a colorist to add color to a black and white project. But it's not the same as a business. With a business, you're really looking at a schedule. You're looking at, okay, how many publications are we going to do? How much freelance talent do we have? You're constantly thinking about recruiting new talent. It's one of the amazing things in the ComicsGate group of guys that I know is there's more incredible talent available, even though a lot of them are doing their own projects. But to step in for a cover or to do a story or editing or writing, it's unbelievable how much talent there is available. I'm one of the few people that are coming into comic books having published comic books in the past, and I see it as a publisher. It's a wealth of incredible people. And I've very slowly started to kind of add them to my team because I already have a lot of work that's been in progress by the time I'm offering it to be published. But I am thinking a lot about working with more people as time goes on in the ComicsGate group because there are just so many great career people and self-publishers in ComicsGate that are willing to do other work for the other guys. But in any case, so yeah, a publisher is thinking about recruiting. We're going to recruit more people to work on our projects, to build our projects, more writers, more editors, more letterers, more colorists, more pencilers, more inkers, and people who we have to think about communicating with on a regular basis. A lot of new relationships. So how are you going to get across when you hire somebody new what you want them to do? It's not like those people are going to be people you've worked with a lot of times before. And it's not like just because you tell someone that you want something directly, it's not like you're necessarily going to get it. It doesn't work that way in life, and it doesn't work that way in business. There are always communication issues with new people that you hire. So you have to kind of come up with very organized ways of presenting new information to new people and even to existing people. If you've got something new you got to discuss with them. So a business is a whole other level of managing. And you also, with the business part where you have all these people who you're coordinating and all these projects that you're coordinating. So with the structure of a business, you are also looking at the numbers really hard. You're looking at the numbers of costs, revenue. Are you retaining customers? Are you gaining customers? Are you gaining influence that's going to help you in the recruiting? You're also looking at ideas, and you can have a passionate idea. You publish a passionate idea. Tomorrow I'm releasing College of the Dead Graduation Day, first full color version of College of the Dead, but brand new story, brand new artwork by the same creative team, plus an amazing colorist, coming out March 7th on Indiegogo. And I'm sure it'll do really well. I'm excited for it. I'm a long-term planner and have my investment focused in bringing out College of the Dead. I see a lot of people like it, so there'll definitely be more of it. But as a business, you look at these ideas and you see, like, all right, well, which ideas are catching on the most? Which ideas are immediately the most successful with people? What are people excited about as customers? Also, as well as a creative team, everybody who's involved. Who's excited about something? Who thinks something is a really big deal? And, sometimes projects are more successful than other projects. I mean, that's just the nature of things. Now, in publishing, and if you're running things as a business, publishing is a hit business. Whether it's music publishing, book publishing, putting out movies, comic books, video game publishing is always a hit business, which means you'll put out 10 projects that may be unique ideas, and of those 10 projects, 2 will make a little money, and 1 will do very, very well, and the other 7 could potentially lose money. Now, that's just the nature of publishing, that it's a hit business, that one of them is going to be bigger than the other ones. And then after the case, later on you can look, and in hindsight it almost becomes like, oh, well, obviously we should have known that this was going to be the biggest one, this is going to be the most successful one. But you really can't tell, which is why it's important to, whether you're doing this as a hobby or a job or a business, you look at, like, you invest yourself, you give everything you can on a project. And if it's well received and it's successful, that's fantastic. If it's not well received and successful, it's okay to kind of move on, unless you have to understand, if you're going to put more and more and more energy and resources into something after it's not as big a success, you can't expect it to all of a sudden turn around. So you want to look at things and give them each a chance. You look at, as a publisher, you look at your projects, you love your projects, but they're not your actual children, where, God forbid, if something was wrong with one of your children, you're not going to leave them behind. But from publishing standpoint, sometimes ideas catch on because they're there to be sold to the public, right? And the ones that catch on, great. The ones that don't catch on, stop it already and move on and try something else creative. That's what you have to do in publishing. The other thing is, it's rare to get a hit in the hit business. You could spend 5 or 10 years trying to develop projects and get a hit. When you get a hit, stay with it. It doesn't mean that if it's a mediocre success, that, okay, you should just keep publishing a mediocre success until it's ruined. But no, if it happens to really catch on with the public and a lot of people in the market are interested with it, do a sequel as soon as you can. The sequel should be at least as good as the original, but do a sequel as quickly as you can. And don't confuse one hit with, like, okay, anything I'll do is going to be a hit. Can you imagine how many of us in publishing have screwed up with that before? Everyone at some point probably in their career in publishing will make that mistake. I've made it before. All the big companies have made it before. Independent publishers have made it before. Sometimes we like to think like, well, it's me. They love me, so anything I do is going to be successful. It works a little bit, but not really. People are, the creator is not the celebrity, at least not now, in producing these projects. People like the creator but love the creator's project. Someone was talking about this recently with Batman. If people are buying Batman by some hot artist, they're really buying Batman. You have to go off and create your own thing if you want people to be focused on your project. But also, once you create your own thing, you can't just keep creating new things and expect they're all going to have the same level of success. That said, if you want to do that as a creative person, there's nothing wrong with it. It makes the project, though, more of a hobby, And at best, it becomes like a job, like you're building your career, doing different creative freelance projects, and maybe it turns into something. But in publishing, you get a hit, you keep doing your hits. That's a basic run through. That's what I wanted to really cover to talk about the differences between doing comic books as a hobby, a job, or a business. I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely let me know in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed. Click the bell for notifications. And don't forget, tomorrow, March 7th, if it's already past March 7th, and that does happen as time moves on, it will be live already at collegeofthedead.com. This is the sign-up list to be notified when it goes live tomorrow. And you will find out about College of the Dead. Definitely check it out. I know you're going to like it. I worked really hard on putting this together and making it an amazing-looking project. You'll see. So great talking to you. I will see you again soon. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.